Welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple, the podcast for moms who want to go from chaos to calm, from overwhelmed to organized, and to find balance between family responsibilities and personal growth. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen. Let's make mom life simple. Hello and welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and I am so excited for this episode today. We are going to talk about living your purpose and more specifically, what is keeping you from living your purpose. This is something that I come across a lot, this idea of purpose. It's something that on the one hand is inspiring, where we feel like, yes, I want to live my purpose. And on the other hand, it's terrifying. Like, I don't know if I'm living my purpose. How do I know if I'm there? How do I know if I am doing what I want to do as far as living my purpose? And it can become this big thing in our minds. And there are lots of things, in fact, 5 things that can keep us from living our purpose that we're going to talk about today. And as you listen, I want you to think which, if any of these, are what's keeping you from living your purpose. Where do you see yourself in these 5 things? So number 1, the first thing that keeps you from living your purpose is seeing only the obstacle. Or another way to say that is making the task bigger than it needs to be. So sometimes you have a clear idea of what you want to do or what your purpose is, but you look at it as this huge mountain to climb and it just seems so big that it's insurmountable, that it feels so big that you go and check Facebook, you go and do something else rather than work on your actual purpose. I recently was invited to hike the Grand Canyon, and as in the beginning, in the early days after this invitation from my sister came, I was spending a lot of time in my head about this idea. Like, do I want to hike the Grand Canyon? It's about a 25-mile hike from rim to rim of the Grand Canyon, one side to the other. And as I thought about this, that is really big. That's a big obstacle, right? It's a big thing to do. And as I thought about that piece of it, there were times when I thought, I don't know if I even want to do this. I don't know if this even makes sense. Like, that's too big, too hard, too scary. Not sure if I want to do it. By the way, side note, I'm not going to do it for other reasons. However, for a couple months there, I was planning on doing it, and I worked really hard to be able to do it. And the way that I did that was by breaking this big task of hiking the Grand Canyon down into, well, what do I need to do all along the way? Well, I need to climb a lot of stairs, because to get out of the Grand Canyon, if you're not familiar, it goes down, then there's a little bit of semi-flat part at the bottom, and then you go right back up, and you go up about 7,500 stairs. So imagine being on the Stairmaster. You've already gone all the way down. Your knees are tired. Your feet are tired. You're going all the way down. You've been hiking at this point for many miles and many hours. The total hike is about 18 to 20 hours. And then you hike another 7,500 stairs up to get out. So what I needed to do is get really good at stairs. And so I started going to the gym and climbing on the stair climber, which I did not enjoy, but it was what I needed to do in order to plan and prepare and be ready for the Grand Canyon. I also needed to go on hikes outdoors with big elevation changes that allowed me to go up and allowed me to go down. So when your purpose just seems too big, when it seems like there's too much to do and it just seems overwhelming, you need to break it down. Instead of going from A to Z, instead of in your mind hiking the entire Grand Canyon, you need to break it down to, what do I need to do this month, this week, today? Breaking it down into those bits. What are the little steps that are going to get me there? As you do that, it starts to feel a lot more doable. And ultimately, in this preparation that I did to be able to hike the Grand Canyon, suddenly the Grand Canyon hike itself, that part didn't seem so scary or so overwhelming anymore. I got to the point where, like, yeah, I'm going to be able to do that. Still going to be hard, but I physically have the ability where I'm going to be able to do that and not going to have helicopter rescue to lift me out. I also saw this process at work with a couple of the books that I've written, but specifically, I've written a children's series of books, and I was asked by my publisher who published my first book to write this small chapter book, so like Junie B. Jones size, these little chapter books for early readers, and to write these books. And I needed to write a series of books. And I had just had my fifth baby, and I had all these kids, and I had all these other things going on. And so I thought, okay, well, how can I realistically, that's a big project. That purpose, that goal just seems so big. And so I needed to break it down. And so instead of thinking, write a 4-book series, instead it was like, okay, I need to just write a little bit every day. And that's what I was able to do. And I was able to get all of those books completed on time and turned in and published and all those wonderful things by breaking it down. And so if you find yourself in that space where you know what the dream is, you have this dream, you have this purpose, you feel very clear on it, but it seems so big and there's something holding you back, then it's time to break it down into smaller steps so that you can just get to work on it a little bit at a time. And really, I would add there, be okay with slow progress. It's okay to go slow. Progress is progress, even if it's going a lot slower than what you planned. Number 2 is you might be scared to get it wrong. You might be afraid that you are not, you're going to decide like, okay, yes, this is my purpose, but wait, what if that wasn't really my purpose? I'm not sure if that was the purpose. And something I want you to think about here, there's not a one and only purpose. I really think that we have hopefully a nice long life on this earth. And there are a lot of things that we need to do. And so when you're thinking about purpose, think about what is my purpose for now? What is my purpose for this season? What is the thing that I can focus on right now, or not even that I can focus on, but that I'm feeling called to focus on right now? And as you dive into that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit because maybe you're not there yet. We'll get to that. Don't worry if that's you. But as you figure out what that is in this season, whatever that is in this season might lead you to unexpected paths in the next season. And there's no way to know what that big future thing that's coming is until you take the steps and you work on what's calling to you right now. Now, whenever we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. This might feel like counterintuitive to what I'm saying, because if you're scared to get it wrong, maybe that's why you're scared. You don't want to say yes to this because you're saying no to all the other things that could be your purpose. However, if you are saying, I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to make a decision, that is also making a decision. You're saying yes to something. You're spending your time in some way. So not making a decision is still making a decision. And going right along with that is number 3. Maybe you're not living your purpose because you're too busy with the urgent, with the day-to-day. And that goes right along with this idea. You're saying yes to all of the laundry and the minutia, the chores and the social media and the TV shows and all those things that you're doing in the day-to-day. You're busy with those, but you're not pausing to look at the big picture of what you want to do and what you want to work toward. This goes really in line with the concept of your future self. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book called Be Your Future Self Now, and he talks a lot about this idea of big picture, looking toward your future vision of who you want to be in the future, the more you have that clarity about who you want to be, which is another way of saying purpose, right? What you want to live toward, what you're working for, what you're aspiring to, the more your day to day gets focused on that big picture and less focused on the urgent things of the day. You'll still find that those things will get done. Maybe they'll get done by someone else. Maybe they'll get done differently, but you're going to focus on the important instead of on the urgent things that always seem to keep coming up. Now, how do you do it? If you are someone who feels like, well, I just don't even know what my purpose is. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. I love this idea of purpose, but I don't know what that means for me or what that is. Then I would say, I believe that there's something in all of us calling us to do something. There's somewhere in scripture, go look it up. I'm not sure where. You can Google this. I have a work for thee, Moses, my son. That's a scripture. And I believe that God has a work for all of us. We're all his children, and he has a work for us to do. So what is that work for you in this season? Ask him, pray about it. Now, another way that I personally get answers, and that I would guess that if you spend time doing it, you will get answers in this way too, is to journal. Go somewhere quiet. Maybe it's very hard to get quiet in your house in this season with young kids or whatever it is. If that's the case, get up a little bit early before your kids get up. Sit down with a notebook and a pen and just write. Write down the question, what is my purpose? Or what is my purpose in this season? And then write whatever comes to mind. As you write, you will receive inspiration. You'll receive these answers. You'll start to tap into whatever is in there, whatever is calling to you, because there is something that you have to offer this world, that you have to do. And if you don't know what that is, then spend some time in silence, in quiet, working that through. A great way to really hone in on that is before you do that journaling process, before you write that question, to sit in silence, to maybe listen to some inspirational music, if that helps, or just to sit in complete silence, to pray, and to have this meditative moment where you are centering yourself and you're getting ready, and then journal whatever comes to you, and you will find that there's something in there. Once you detach yourself from the urgent things, you will find what's really important. So it is a process of looking to see what you can uncover, what's under there, what's needing to be done. Number 4, what keeps you from living your purpose is you're scared to fail. If you have an idea of what this thing is that you want to work on, it can be really scary. I actually am in this is the one for me. This is where I'm at right now, up until, in fact, every time I've stepped into my purpose, this has been me. I've been a little scared to fail. I remember before I started my first podcast, so when I first started podcasting, I was podcasting for a company that was located in China, and this podcast was overseas. And so as I podcasted, I learned to podcast for a foreign audience, and that was great. And then I felt really led to start a podcast here for an international, but primarily United States audience. And that was very scary. I was definitely scared to fail. I was scared to put my voice out there. I was scared to do something on my own that I had never done before. And then from there, I was really led and called to start a business, to do group coaching. That was scary. I was definitely scared to fail. And now I am being led to do something even bigger, and I'm really excited about it. I'm not ready to share that publicly yet, but it's going to be awesome. And it is scary. It's super scary. It's bigger than anything I've done before. And every time you step into that new level for you of something that you haven't done, you're going to feel the fear of failure. You just don't know if you are going to make it. You don't know if you have what it takes. And it's really easy to sit with an idea, to have an idea and like, oh yeah, that idea is going to be so awesome. And to let it live in that idea phase, because it's awesome over there as an idea, but once you start and you realize how hard it is to make that idea into reality, that's the scary part. However, that's where growth is. That's where growth happens, and that's where all the amazing things are on the other side of that fear. So like the title of the book, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's something that you just know that you're on the right path. You know you're growing if you're doing something scary. Number 5 is not letting yourself dream or imagine. And this is another place where your journal can really help a lot. If you sit down and just let yourself daydream. Do you do that anymore? I'm sure you did it as a kid. I think we're all born being able to imagine and to daydream and to come up with amazing scenarios for our Barbies and other fun, imaginative, creative games that we play. Are you still doing that? Are you imagining what things could be like in your future? What you could do, what your purpose could be. It's really interesting in the conversations that I get into with the women that I coach, how often this imagination muscle has atrophied, how often they aren't letting themselves imagine and think and create, and just create in their minds. It just seems preposterous as a mom who needs to get dinner on the table to imagine herself to think about what things could be like. And so that is really where I would start. If you don't know what your purpose is, just let yourself dream and imagine. I had a client who I worked with once who was really struggling with purpose. And one of the things that I encouraged her to do was every night before bed to just let herself daydream about anything that sparked her imagination, that anything that seemed fun to her, anything that got her excited. And, one of the things that I would always say is, adopting a child from Africa or going to Africa and working with an orphanage or something like that. The reason why I would say that one is because it kind of seems far-fetched. She's, a mom in the United States with young kids, and Africa is not really on her, in her near future. However, your imagination, you can go anywhere. And if that's the thing that gets you excited thinking about, let yourself think about that. As you create time and space to think about that, your imagination is going to grow. You'll start to pick out the elements that are for you to act on right now, that are your purpose for this season. So these 5 things may be keeping you from living your purpose. Number 1, seeing only the obstacle. Number 2, you're scared to get it wrong. Number 3, you're too busy with the urgent. Number 4, you're scared to fail. And number 5, you're not letting yourself dream or imagine. So like I said at the beginning, take a look at these. Which one is it for you? Where do you need to spend some time really letting go of that thing so you can live into your purpose for this season? I hope this has been helpful. I want you to live your purpose. I want you to take little actions every day that help you feel like you are living on purpose and living in your purpose for this season. Thanks for listening to Mom's Life Made Simple. Need some help making your mom life simple? I offer group coaching programs using my 4-step method called the Mom's Method. This is a process of manifestation, organization, mobilization, and simplification that will give you the balance, progress, and joy you're looking for. Visit ChanelNielsen.com or go to bit.ly/momlifebook to get your copy of my brand new book, Stop Putting Yourself Last. I love to hear from you, so reach out with your questions, your feedback, and let me know how I can help make your mom life simple.